ReVolt was already available for PC, but on mine I wasn't able to play it with decent frame rates. So, at every possible moment, I would borrow my friend's Dreamcast to experience ReVolt at its best. Developed by Pro and published in 1999 by the extinct Acclaim simultaneously for the PC, Nintendo 64 and PlayStation, it was later also available for the Dreamcast. I'm sure that every single one of you have played ReVolt, so you know that it is a freaking addictive car racing title with a huge lineup of extremely well reproduced remote controlled vehicles with incredibly sharp and shiny reflection effects. The tracks available are also extremely well made, and the level of detail and realism is something to behold. There's also included a very simple to use track editor, and even today there's new tracks and cars being released for the PC version. Definitely worth checking out. This is probably my favorite action puzzle game ever. Rock and Roll, developed and published by Rainbow Arts in 1989, and with an awesome soundtrack by my all-time favorite composer, Chris Hulsbeck. This is a huge game in where you control a ball with a mouse and try to reach the end of each level, avoiding ventilators, magnets, arrows and other objects that simply drains the player's energy. It's not an easy task, but it's a highly enjoyable one. The ball physics are spot on, and we have a good control over it and can easily anticipate annoying situations. It was one of my early reviews for my channel, so if you want to know more, feel free to click on the annotation in the top right of the screen. This game is ready to take us down on its first try, with twists and turns, rivers and ponds, cliffs and bumps, and even trees and bushes. All these ingredients, very well mixed up, offer this package of pure hard as nails off-road insanity. Screamer 4x4 has obviously other gaming modes available that could be tackled over LAN and even online, challenging other human players, but back then it was really hard to find other people playing this game online. For that, we have to thank to reviews like this one, published in PC Zone magazine, that completely influenced players not to buy Screamer 4x4. This was written by someone that clearly doesn't appreciate this form of motorsport and don't have a freaking clue of how 4x4s handle off-road. This has to be the slowest racing game ever made, cause we have to drive carefully through this uneven terrain to prevent hazards of all sorts. If that wasn't enough, there's also night stages, fog, rain and other extreme conditions that will mess up with the steering and send us sliding down the mountains to our doom. There's around 60 courses to tackle, with plenty of variation in the type of landscape and atmospheric conditions. Learning how to maneuver the vehicle to cross the checkpoints, that most of the times are awkwardly placed, is so damn enjoyable and extremely satisfying. Seriously, my advice is to go slow, to take your time, and to just avoid touching the checkpoints. That way you'll certainly cross the finish line intact and in a good ranking position. The single player mode is the way to go, cause it has this special feeling that defies you over and over and compels you to beat one more stage again and again. JoJo was one of the few Amiga games that got the backing from a huge publisher. Hudson Soft saw the potential of the game, and JoJo is indeed an amazing scrolling platformer and one of the few offering simultaneous two-player cooperative gameplay, something really uncommon in this particular genre. It doesn't have a compelling story to keep the player interested. JoJo relies upon its fantastic gameplay, pure and simple. And the graphics are incredibly detailed and with huge maps to travel through. An incredible display of what the Amiga was capable of. And the music. Dance and trance were what people were listening in early 90s, and these tunes just makes me stop for a while and simply sit back and relax for a bit. One of the most entertaining Spanish games I've ever played, and apparently was inspired by the 1980 arcade game entitled Rally X, which I never had the chance to try cause at that time I was just 5 years old and didn't know what an arcade cabinet was all about, and this type of things were quite uncommon back then around the place I lived in. So in 1988, Toposoft developed this arcade driving and puzzle game, in where we control a buggy trying to collect 6 pieces in the form of question marks, unveiling an image of a vehicle on the bottom left of the screen. But be careful, cause behind those question marks, other surprises can be unleashed. And besides other hazards, be aware of mines and oil that can destroy and make you lose the control over your vehicle. This simple concept turns this jam into a highly addictive little game, and it practically passed unnoticed. By the way, a funny thing about the cover of Rock'n'Roller is that in the Spectrum and MSX versions, the letters on the stop sign are inverted. Someone was really wasted or in a bad mood. Now, here's one of my favorite games on the system, WolfChild. I consider it an hidden gem, even being developed and published by Core Design, that came from the creative mind of Simon Phipps that also offered us the unforgiving Rick Dangerous. This one was also available for a bunch of Sega consoles and even the Super Nintendo, but all received really poor reviews, what somewhat made players believe that it wasn't worth it. Well, if you think that, you need to try the Amiga version. It's truly amazing in all respects, and played with the Maverick is like a walk in the park. I've already reviewed it, feel free to check another of my early videos. Remember the incredible Green Beret? Fire Force can be seen as a sort of spiritual successor that offers everything that fans of, let's say, the original ever wanted, including awesome weapons, hostages, helicopters, medals, terrorists, etc. It obviously drank huge amounts of influence in Vietnam movies from the 80s, and we can see that cinematic influence when, for instance, we blew up a watchtower with an anti-tank weapon, Rambo style. And talking about Rambo, a knife can be also used to silently take down the bad guys, and a helicopter awaits us at the end of the very first level, just like in so many action-packed and Vietnam War-themed movies from that era. The only downside of Fire Force is really the AI of the enemies, but even so, it's a freaking amazing jam, not only on the Amiga, but also on the Atari ST. Sega Rally from 2007 is also known as Sega Rally Revo in other regions, cause Sega wanted to somehow pass the thought that this was a revolution in rally games. It was developed by the English Sega Racing Studio that took advantage of the geo-deformation engine, which makes the terrain dynamically deformable, affecting also the performance and drivability of the cars. I recall that this was huge back in 2007 when it was released, and it still is. Look at it! This is such a unique game, with all that well-known Sega Rally fun of the previous titles at the arcades, on the Saturn and on the Dreamcast. And the tracks in this tropical setting are simply gorgeous, with tons of mud to dig that indeed affects the driving. Give this game a chance if you haven't already, and show the love down in the comments section below. And I must mention also the incredible force feedback using a 360 controller. Really immersive stuff. very much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video. Cheers!